We'll have more on the latest from Venezuela in a few minutes. But first, to continue this conversation, I'm joined now by former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Michael, as always, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, experts say NATO's Secretary General, he's playing down differences among member countries. Now, would you agree with that? And if so, why?
He's a political guy, and he doesn't want to accentuate the divisions that do exist, particularly between Trump and the rest of the group. And Trump is not going to be, I don't think he's going to be too kind. I think he's going to really underscore to them the need to boost their defense spending even more. Germany, which is the top country in Europe, its spending is actually going down. And I don't think Trump is going to have very kind words for that.
Now, Stoltenberg, he says there are spats. There are spats over trade, climate change, and the Iran nuclear deal. But he points out the 29 allies, they're united on the need to defend each other, especially when it comes to Russia. What do you say to that? Well,
I think they will to a point. You know that Turkey is probably one country that has a problem with this. It has sought, it had threatened to invoke Article 5, which is one for all mindset, and nobody responded. And when Syria had sent a plane into Turkey a few years ago, it's not going to. I think they're going to remain divided. They're going to have their spats. Also, it sounds like Stoltenberg wants to turn NATO into a social experiment, which is what the U.S. has done with the Defense Department in the past. It's not a social experiment when you talk about climate change, whatever. It's there to defend. But what's happened is that while it's calling for that, pushing itself to the borders of the Russian Federation, it's screaming bloody murder, particularly the U.S. when Russia lands 2 planes in Venezuela.
Now, I want to touch on something you just mentioned earlier, where Trump, he's complained and criticized NATO about a few other members meeting the goal of spending at least 2% of their gross domestic product on defense. Do you think that this is something that he's going to bring up in the meeting tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely. For that matter, the United States is carrying 70% of its overall costs, and their contributions are far below 2%. I think only 5 of the NATO countries are in compliance, and they're small ones. They're small countries, and so their percentage isn't going to be all that great compared to the need, except for their own GDP. However, the U.S. is still footing the bill. Germany, as I pointed out earlier, is actually cutting back. And you have the people in Europe who are are becoming increasingly opposed to NATO itself.
All right, I want to read you a tweet from Donald Trump back in January. He said, Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, just stated that because of me, NATO has been able to raise far more money than ever before from its members after many years of decline. It's called burden sharing. Also, more united Dems and fake news like to portray the opposite. Now, Stoltenberg has been known to shower Trump with praise, but experts say he may allude to differences over Trump's policies when he speaks to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday. How likely is this, Michael?
I think it's good. I think he's going to be very careful about that. He's going to. You've got a Democrat-controlled House now, and I think it's going to be. He's got to be very, very careful. He's a political guy, and he will probably talk about the need for NATO, the continued need for NATO, and the need for continued protection. I mean, he's going to give it the broad brush approach. I don't think he's going to be critical of the president per se. He can't if he wants to survive politically himself.
All right, we have about a minute left here. I want to talk about the future of NATO. Experts say the unity could crumble by the year 2021. A crucial arms agreement called the New START deal is set to expire. So can you just tell us what the agreement is and what will happen if it does expire?
Well, the New START is an arms reduction for nuclear weapons, and it expires in 2021. The Trump administration is one that does not like arms reduction treaties, as we just saw with the pullout from the INF treaty with Russia. I think that NATO will not expire by 2021. It will still be around. It's still going to have hiccups, and because Europe itself still is going through an economic recession, I think there's going to be difficulty for the members to continue to be able to match that 2% or even try to approach that 2% that they all agree to, even though they're going to pay lip service to it. But they're not going to. They need to have that kind of appearance of unity when in fact they are having a lot of problems politically and economically internally.
All right, we're going to leave it right there.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your insight, former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.